everyone, welcome to another episode of Now That's What I Call Gaming. If you're new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so that you don't miss a second of my great content. So the last couple of videos in this series, we've taken a look at remakes of the first two games in the Mega Man series. And while we aren't done with the Blue Bomber quite yet, I thought it'd be good to take a little break and take a look at another great series from Nintendo, the iconic Metroid. The original Metroid on the NES was a masterpiece in both scope and gameplay style. Released in 1986, it's a platforming game where exploration was the focus. The world feels very interconnected, unlike other games of that time that had very distinct levels. The plot is simple. You're Samus Aran, galactic bounty hunter. Metroids have taken over the planet Zebes, and you have to stop them and Mother Brain. Now, we really need to take a closer look at this screen for a minute. It's just a horrible mash of words. First off, the planet was mistranslated as Zebeth, which was common at the time as the S in Japan was often mistranslated to TH in several games. Secondly, how does Mother Brain and the Metroid coincide? This never says. And the mechanical life vein? What? The better story is fleshed out in the instruction manual. Now this was common for a lot of NES games back in the day since cutscenes and story weren't as high a priority, especially in the early days of the system like this game was. The gist of the story in the manual is that space pirates have stolen a dangerous organism found on planet SR-388 called a Metroid. They took it back to their base on the planet Zebes and have resisted armed efforts to stop them. So the Galactic Federation enlists Samus to single-handedly infiltrate the fortress and stop the space pirates. So now, with the story out of the way, let's talk about the game. Again, exploration is the name of this game. Unlike most platformers of the day, which had you traversing either vertically, as an ice climber, or horizontally, like Super Mario Bros., Metroid has you doing both. Some areas you'd go through horizontally, other areas were huge shafts you'd have to either climb or descend. Metroid also introduced the idea of backtracking. For example, when you first enter this room here, you can see the floor looks like it can be broken. However, you can't break this floor. Only later, when you get the bomb upgrade, can you go back and finally break the floor. This requires you to remember where things are. Metroid is definitely one of those games that doesn't hold your hand. When you start the game, you have no idea where anything is. In fact, your natural instinct may be to start heading right, but you'll quickly come to an obstacle that you can't get past. So you head back to the left to find an item. But the game doesn't even tell you how to use it. You have to figure out to press down to roll into this form. Now you can continue. You also don't start with full health. When the game begins, you'll have 30 health. So, you're underpowered, unprepared, and totally lost. And lost is definitely something you'll be a lot here. Metroid contains no in-game map system, and many of the corridors look exactly alike. While this was mainly due to the limitations of a Nintendo cartridge, it really adds to that feeling of exploration. Likewise, the music is very atmospheric. Apart from the iconic opening theme, the rest of the music is ominous and dark. Going into Norfair, Kraid, or Turian, music evokes a sense of dread and foreboding. It's very effective how it works. Metroid was, obviously, heavily inspired by the Ridley Scott movie Alien. The whole world feels as maze-like as the corridors of the Nostromo, and always, especially with the ambient music, you feel like there's danger always present. One of the bosses is even named Ridley. And, possible spoiler alert, even though the instructions refer to Samus as a him, Samus Aran is actually a woman, just like Ellen Ripley. All in all, Metroid is an amazing game, but it is very challenging. Also, as one of the early games of Nintendo's, it follows the whole black box style of NES box art. Before I can get into what that is, I need to give you a little history lesson. Before Nintendo revitalized the gaming industry here in America, the art on the box of the game often didn't show you what you were actually going to be playing. The box art would look amazing and catch your eye so that you'd buy the game, but then the game would look like total crap. For examples, take a look at the box art for a game like Sword Quest or Pac-Man on the Atari 2600, and then compare them to their actual gameplay. Disappointment was an understatement, and this was just one of the many factors that led to the infamous video game crash of 1983. Now, this crash made it very difficult for Nintendo to make the industry relevant again. For more information on the crash, I highly recommend you watch Gaming Historian's coverage on it. Links in the description below, and I'll put a card up there for it. But basically, Nintendo had to redesign their system to look less like a video game console, and they had to make some unique promises to their retailers just to get the system in stores. However, Nintendo also did another very innovative thing. They started what is now known as the black box artwork. The first series of games released on the NES would all feature actual artwork from the game itself, so that when you looked at the front of the box, you could see exactly what you were playing. Games like Duck Hunt, Super Mario Bros., Donkey Kong, and of course Metroid. Now, Metroid was released in a silver box for some reason, probably to make it stand out from all the black box games, but it still followed that same format, making the in-game graphics the focus of the box. And boy, did Metroid ever live up to the hype. Even though it was a difficult game to beat, it definitely established itself as one of Nintendo's top-tier games. So much so, in fact, that Samus officially became one of Nintendo's mascot characters, and this one game spawned into a massive franchise. So with the original game out of the way, now we need to fast forward to 2004. Riding high off the success of the popular Metroid Fusion for the Game Boy Advance, the team at Nintendo decided they just had to get another Metroid game out on this console. The first suggestion was just to do a port of Super Metroid, which is considered by many to be the best game in this series. And you know, considering the Game Boy Advance was often compared to being a handheld Super Nintendo, this would have been a simpler solution. But nope, they decided instead they'd remake the original game so they could introduce a whole new generation to the first Metroid. The result was called Metroid Zero Mission. Using a rebuilt engine from Fusion, the team completely broke down and remade the original game for the handheld console. Adding save spots and adding all the abilities Samus would use in later games, such as the Speed Booster, they made the game stay true to the original while also delivering a totally new experience. One change that some like and some hate is that, unlike the original game, Zero Mission really does hold your hand. It has a map system so you can see where you've been and where you have to go. That makes it easy enough, but they also give you these Chozo statues, which directly tell you where you need to go for your next upgrade. These statues also restore your health and ammo. So, along with the save points, which also restore you, you're usually never very far from being healed if you're in trouble. Like I said, this is great for newcomers who were used to Fusion and might have been put off by the original Metroid, but masters of the old school game would likely find it to be pandering. The story also gets more attention, with in-game cutscenes showing several events adding to the ambiance. They also included new bosses, made bosses like Kraid and Ridley match their Super Metroid incarnation, and made more of Zebes explorable. For once, you can actually go to the surface of the planet and walk around, even making it to your ship. The whole story of the original game is here, from the arrival on Zebes to the confrontation with Mother Brain. But here's where the game throws a curveball. For fans of the original, they will beat Mother Brain and escape. Although the escape sequence is longer, requiring you to actually reach your ship to escape, the game is the same. But then, when you think it's over, your ship is shot down and there's even more game to play. This is where you get to play as what has been dubbed Zero Suit Samus. No armor, no weapons, only a stun gun and your wits. At this point, the game feels a little like a side-scrolling Metal Gear game, where avoidance is the key rather than confrontation. And then, after an inspired boss fight, you get your fully powered suit and can really take it to the space pirates. You can then either go through the space pirate mothership and defeat the true final boss and escape, or you can explore areas of Zebes you were previously in. You can go see the destruction left in Turian from Mother Brain, for example, and even pick up more items. It's really immersive and incredible, and a game you could easily sink hours into with exploring every nook and cranny. Along with that lies a certain puzzle-solving aspect. Some areas will require you to use unique skills to access, such as this part where you have to build a speed boost, store the energy, roll into a ball, and then shoot yourself across several screens to grab a super missile upgrade. Now, at the point of the game you can do this, super missiles aren't really needed. However, getting them sooner means you can access other areas and have an easier time with bosses you normally wouldn't have otherwise. The music is still just as atmospheric as the original, just with a grander sense of orchestra. Take a listen to the iconic opening music here, first from the NES, and now the GBA. So there's your review of the two games. Now it's time for you to get my recommendations. Getting either of these games physically is going to cost you a bit, maybe more than you're willing to spend. A cart-only copy on the NES will cost you at least just under $19, and it only goes up from there. It was included as an unlockable in Metroid Prime, but you need Metroid Fusion to do so, as well as a Game Link cable for the GBA. Ironically, it's also an unlockable on Zero Mission, but I'll be discussing that one later. It was also included as one of the 30 games on the NES Classic, which currently goes for around $65 if you're lucky. And that's really hard to come by considering they're not making it anymore. So if you find one, you might be getting yourself a bootleg or knockoff version which might not have the game on it. If you can find an original NES Classic though, it might be worth paying that money because not only do you get Metroid, but you get 29 other great games for the NES. Fortunately, it is currently available as part of Switch Online, which will cost you $20 a year to get. You can also pick it up for about $5 on the Wii U eShop, which at the time of this video is still open. But since you can't count on that being around forever, for the original Metroid, at this point you're probably better off going the Switch Online route. As far as Zero Mission, that's harder. The cartridge by itself costs over $60 at the time of this video. Like the original, it is also available on the Wii U for about $8, so if you got that system, that's an option. But again, it's not guaranteed that the Wii U eShop will stay open forever. As I said earlier, since Zero Mission even has the original included, it's a shame there's really not any other options. For Zero Mission, unless you have the Wii U and the eShop is still open, the best way you're going to be able to play it right now will be through emulation. This is most unfortunate, and if Nintendo really wanted to boost their Switch Online offerings, GBA games like this would definitely help. So as far as my recommendation, needless to say, if you can get your hands on Zero Mission, that's the version to go for. However, as I said, there's extremely limited ways to get that game legitimately, and because the original has so many more ways of accessing it, I'm going to have to say for practicability, you're going to have to go for the original. Paying $20 a year for Switch Online will not only give you access to this game, but also a wide and ever-expanding variety of classic NES and SNES games. Now I will say this, Nintendo, if you're listening and you want to do something really amazing, you need to somehow start bringing over Game Boy Advance titles to the Switch. Your Switch Online service does offer a huge way to bring classic games to a new audience, and I think if you were to put games like Metroid Zero Mission and Fusion, you could get even more people willing to fork over that $20 a year to get access to these games, especially on the Switch. So that'll do it for this review of the original Metroid. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to the channel for more great content, including more how-to videos, as well as my secondary content, The Model Frontier. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I'll catch you next time on Now That's What I Call Gaming.